Let me just make sure this. All right, we're good. As long as we can hear it, we're fine.
We're good.
We're fine.
We're good.
Everything's fine.
All
We're
is
recording.
well.
We're up and running.
Stand by, going to air.
Stand by, Phil.
5,
Stand by music.
4,
Stand by announce.
3, 2, 1.
And fade up.
Fish are friends, not food.
Make it Centauri time.
Too much iron in your blood.
Buddy the Elf, what's your favorite color?
Hey, what happened?
Let's get pissed and watch boom. Hello, you've got a base.
Are you saying there's something wrong with my gear?
We're going streaking!
He found me!
He's doing his Superman thing.
I still only count as one!
Why is the rum always gone?
So, all right. Well, welcome to a brand new episode of 20 Years, 4 Beers. We are a podcast dedicated to re-watching movies from 2 decades ago, while simultaneously enjoying a minimum of 4 modern beers. My name is Steve, and this is my big brother,
Tim.
and we are coming to you from Minneapolis, Minnesota. As we've kind of come to in the last couple episodes, we're going to start out with maybe a recap of what we've watched and maybe some more modern recommendations. Do you want to start?
I am so happy to report. I could not wait to talk about this.
Oh, yeah. I thought you'd be like, I didn't write anything down.
No. I was prepared. Last week, Wednesday, for the kids' spring break, they were so adamant about us enjoying the new Super Mario Brothers movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure Spider-Man No Way Home, when you and I went, what must have been early 22, was the last time that I've been to the theater.
I assume so. Yeah.
So
Yep.
a good year and 3 months. And it was so great
Yeah.
to be, obviously pandemic blew things up or whatever, but even then I've always been like, theaters kind of suck. It was so much fun.
Well, yeah.
The kids had a blast. If you have any kids or even yourself, I mean, it's a great
I'm gonna see it.
homage and captures that fun of the Mario Brothers games. So thoroughly enjoyable. Illumination is a fantastic animation company.
Yeah.
The quality is there. Definitely check it out. That was
Well,
one
thing about like, it's one thing, because one thing that sucks about going to theaters is other people
Absolutely.
talking through it or
Yes.
whatever.
Yes.
And obviously that makes a difference if you go to a place that cares about it. But then when you go to a kid's movie,
Totally different.
it's like, it's somewhat fun. Like when I saw Frozen on stage and it was like, normally you'd be a little bit mad about people talking around you, but
Yes.
you're actually like the kids talking and like singing along and the parents dressed up and stuff. You're kind of like, this enhances my experience for this. And I feel
Yes.
like Mario would have been the same way for that.
It was, and not to make it somewhat serious, but communal experiences for so long were terrifying in some ways, especially
Yeah.
the height of the pandemic. So the kids to get back into having fun had a huge thing of popcorn.
Yeah.
Son had his snacks. Like it was just delightful. So loved it. Side note, I also finished Avatar 2. Way of Water. I know you had seen it in the theater, but I saw it at home.
Yeah, I think I even forgot to talk about that on our. No,
That's what-
actually, no, because we haven't recorded since then.
We have not.
Because we recorded the night before the Oscars, and I saw it the
Yes.
day of the Oscars.
True.
So
Yes.
we both saw that movie in
Yes,
this
we
time
both saw it.
frame. It helps
Not that we
it
have to talk about it, but
I'm not going to talk about it. Yeah, I'll echo what you're going to say.
it was exactly what you thought. If you enjoyed the first, you'd enjoy this. It was James Cameron's pure ambition in there in many ways. Yeah, exactly. It was. The funny thing was, I watched the 2.5 hour making of,
Yeah.
and that was more fascinating than the movie itself.
Yeah.
Of how that came together. But if you enjoyed the first, you'll enjoy the second. If you have no interest, you're not missing out.
Don't watch it.
Nope.
No, friend of mine I asked, and she wanted to go, and she was like, no.
Yeah.
Like when it initially came out, I was like,
Sure.
do you have any interest in seeing that? No. Fair enough.
Yep.
Like, know thyself.
Yeah.
Rest
No.
in peace, Socrates.
How about you?
Kind of on the exactly what you thought it would be. I'll briefly mention I did finally see Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Outstanding. I mean, it's exactly what I want to be. In fact, I said this with Cocaine Bear. I kind of feel like it could have been even more over the top, and I would have liked it, and it would have been okay.
Yes.
Like, I could have used a little more crazy Nick Cage, but
Yes.
it was exactly what you thought it would be. It was exactly as dumb as you thought it would be. Funny. Pedro Pascal is just a treasure of a human. But I actually want to talk about, like you talked about, Mario. I want to talk about Babylon. And you haven't seen it, so I'm not going to spoil anything.
All good.
But I just want to say I saw Babylon with like Brad Pitt and Margot Robbie, for those of you who don't know, et cetera, et cetera. I can absolutely understand why this film is so divisive among critics and people. Like, I get it. Some thought it was a disjointed 3-hour mess of a film that didn't really tell a story. Others thought it was the best film of last year and loved it for all of its excess and love of old Hollywood. I tended to agree with both sides. And
yes,
that's not a bad thing, but I definitely ended up on the latter of saying, like, I think it's one of the best movies of last year.
Nice.
But I would not recommend it to almost anybody without caveats of saying, the main caveat being, go into it asking yourself, if Baz Luhrmann had directed this instead of Elvis, would this have been up for every Oscar out there? And I think the answer is yes.
Gotcha.
Because it is, the first 30 minutes is like a just grab the edge of your seat, clench your cheeks, and hope you survive. It is just a mess of stuff.
Like the acclimation period?
Yeah. Within the first 5 minutes, there's an elephant pooping on somebody. And you're like, here we are. We're there.
You're signing up.
You know what you're getting
I kind of like that where it's like,
I give
right
people
away.
a heads up on that.
Yeah.
And even that moment, because you're like, even if you say Baz Luhrmann, that's still a little bit much.
That is a bit much.
And so, but
Okay.
yeah, it just, and it goes, like I say, so I'd say if you like Luhrmann films and you can easily get used to that style, and I'm
Sure.
talking to a person who can, I think go watch it and hopefully enjoy, because it's just a 3-hour epic film that it doesn't go ramp up from there, but it starts there and then sort of the story kicks in, and but then there's still some weird ass stuff that goes on. So
I must admit, I was somewhat contemplating this week watching it,
yeah,
but knowing the 3-hour runtime, and you had said, do not split it up. Just sit back.
I
and
think you have to
experience the
sit
whole
back
thing.
and enjoy it. And so that was my last part, was like, I think it's a mind-effing movie. And at one point, I think I hadn't blinked in like 5 minutes because I felt like the guy from Clockwork Orange. Just like, I can't close my eyes. I was like, because if I close my eyes, I'm going to miss something right now.
Yes.
And yeah, you're just kind of like, just buckle in for the ride. And then, but that's my point, is saying, like, I don't think there's a natural stopping point. And once you've already kind of like gotten on that ride, you don't want to get off and then think that you can just sort of naturally pick up.
Sure.
Because you now have missed the first hour. If you pick it up halfway through, you
hard to
miss
recapture
the
that.
hour and a half and capture that feeling.
Sure.
And that's the point. Now they want you to go into. So yeah, I think it'll have to be a weekend where the wife's out of town
absolutely.
or whatever, and you have a couple drinks, a smoke of something, or you know, whatever, and
just sign
just
up.
oh man, by the end I texted you and I was like in this like visceral like shaking, like what is going on right now?
Just
So I loved
happened.
it.
Cool.
But anyway,
Good.
In this episode, we
it.
continue our journey through the films of 2003, and we will be re-watching X2, X-Men United, and hopefully redeeming our rewatch of X-Men from our second ever episode,
Fingers crossed.
where we simply did not like that movie at all. X2, X-Men United is the continuing saga of the mutant superhero team known as the X-Men. This time we find ourselves once again following our main protagonist, Wolverine, played by Hugh Jackman, as he searches for clues to his past. As dark secrets are unveiled, the entire team becomes threatened by Colonel Stryker, Brian effing Cox, who is hell-bent on either using mutants for his own power or ridding the world of them altogether. The film is directed by Bryan Singer, yikes, written by Michael Dougherty, Dan Harris, and David Hayter, and stars Hugh Jackman, Patrick Stewart, Halle Berry, Ian McKellen, Famke Janssen, James Marsden, your boy, Anna Paquin, Rebecca Romaine, Brian Cox, and Alan Cumming, to name a few.
So, when did you first know you were
A mutant?
But you cut that out.
You have to understand, we thought Bobby was going to a school for the gifted.
Bobby is gifted.
We know that, We just didn't realize he
We
was...
still love you, Bobby. It's just this mutant problem is a little
What mutant problem?
complicated.
What exactly are you professor of, Mr. Logan?
Art.
This is all my fault.
Actually, they discovered that males are the ones who carry the mutant gene and pass it on, so it's his fault.
This is just a misunderstanding.
Put the knives down!
I can't. Look.
All right, the rest of you, on the ground, now. Look, kid, I said on the ground.
We don't want to hurt you, kid.
You know all those dangerous mutants you hear about on the news? I'm the worst one.
All right. Our first segment, as always, I guess first segment, 10 minutes into this or wherever we are, is Drinking Buddies.
Come on, not my fucking beer.
Where we present the beers we will be drinking while rewatching our subject film. As our name would suggest, we cover 4 beers. And Tim will be walking us through our buddies for tonight. So, Tim, take it away.
Alrighty. We have from... Sorry, in the cooler. There we go. Out of Chicago, Half Acre Brewing. Their double Daisy Cutter, which is a hazy double pale ale.
Mm-hmm.
I'm intrigued. I know I like their solid or their standard ones. So
Yeah, Daisy Cutter is a good one.
the double here. I'm gonna.
What's first?
Oh yeah, starting right off the bat with that good one. And then just a little bit north of that, out of Wisconsin, the Humble Forager, and we've had them in the past, and I've always been thoroughly impressed. So I'm excited to see.
Yeah, that's why I
what
got
this
it.
one's like. Their Enchanted Island, which is Cobra's Fang Imperial Tiki Sour, which includes passion fruit, marionberry, pineapple, tangerine, and hibiscus. That's going to be a doozy. I'm very excited for that one.
Yeah,
And then-
hibiscus sours they can be really good.
Yes, and speaking of
Falling
hibiscus
Man's got a great
sours, one that does a good one of that is Fair State out of
Ooh.
Minneapolis, and that's our next one.
Yeah.
We have their Legalized Big Doinks. They're highly aromatic, super duper extra dank West Coast IPA. So the tall boys are their kind of standard IPA. That's one of my favorites. So I'm kind of curious to see what this is like a little different. And then, bit of a pivot, but out of Minneapolis as well, Finnegan's Brewing. And we had their regular Dead Irish Poet Stout with Gangs in New York, but now they've partnered with Caribou Coffee, and they now have their Dead Irish Poet Coffee Stout.
Yeah.
That we'll be having at the end.
We liked the Dead Irish.
Oh yeah,
Poets,
very much. And I it's a solid one. I always love
Okay.
it. So I'm like, I'm gonna try their coffee stout.
Yeah. For those of you who are listening in California or Pennsylvania or Texas, some of our friends out there, Caribou Coffee is a local coffee shop in our area where it is the only, we're one of the only places in the U.S. where Caribou is, or Starbucks is number 2.
Yes, and it's it's so good. Love it.
Disagree. I hate Caribou.
And I
That's
don't like coffee, but
Yep,
their
no.
cold brew is way better.
well,
So yeah, I'm
whatever.
excited to see how this goes.
Well, cool. That brings us to the social network,
If you guys were the inventors of Facebook, you'd have invented Facebook.
where we take a look back at the critical and fan reception from 20 years ago. Tim, as usual, takes point on this. And so, Tim, what do we got?
The IMDb rating is 7.4 out of 10. Chris Hewitt of Empire Magazine, and I have to call it's the British version because I like what word he uses in this,
Oh, sure.
is during shooting, director Bryan Singer referred to The Empire Strikes Back as his template for X2. And by Jove, he's made a movie that's worthy of the comparison. I just love that. By Jove.
Golly gee.
But feels that the movie is a worthy comparison to Empire Strikes Back. Peter Rainier of New York Magazine said the best new addition to the group is Alan Cummings' Nightcrawler. His pointy ears, yellow eyes, and blue skin make him the most creepily beautiful presence in the mutant pageant. And Roger Ebert, Big Man Raj, gave it 3 out of 4. Said X2 is the kind of dumb movie you enjoy for its moments, even though they never add up. A film made for and possibly by those with short attention spans, it lives in the moment, providing one amazing spectacle after another, and does not even try to develop a story arc. It is best to simply experience the film entirely in the present, yet the fact is, I had a very good time watching it.
Shove that Pulitzer Prize square up your
I'm
ass.
amazed at times that the guy won a Pulitzer. Because
He just totally insulted
Yes.
anyone who liked that movie,
Yes.
and then was like, "But I had a good time."
Yeah.
You short attention span, dumb
Yeah, you
bastard.
dumb
I think
morons.
you're an idiot.
But I liked it. So it actually was one of the most lazy reviews I've remember for him. Just like, it's good. Check it out. I liked it. Thanks, Raj. And then Academy Awards that year, not surprisingly, it was up for none.
Nope, not a surprise. All right, well, there you go. We are going to pause and re-watch the movie now. So if you are so inclined and enjoy a good superhero film, please watch along with us. If not, we'll see you on the other side of the break. Here now is X2, X-Men United.
You get him now! She's not letting me.
I know what I'm doing. This is
The only way.
Jean, listen to me. Don't do this.
goodbye.
Oh, no, no. She's gone. She's gone.
No! You don't say that!
We gotta go back. She's gone.
No! No!
All right, well, welcome back to 20 Years, 4 Beers, where we have just finished rewatching X2, X-Men United, and also have enjoyed 4 and another new beers that we will review in a segment coming up later, along with, what am I talking about? Quiz show. That's
Quiz
what
show.
I'm thinking about. There we go. But first, as usual, we jump right into our reaction segment that we call Spotlight.
They knew, and they let it happen!
We highlight and discuss our top takeaways of any kind from rewatching the film. I got a few. I mean, I
Please start.
no, I don't really know where to start. So why don't you go ahead?
So this is, I believe, our first sequel.
I mean,
Lord of the Rings,
Lord of the Rings, as
is
we discussed, is
arguably a
count.
major
It's one
story
movie split into three.
Right?
Yeah, I would
So-
say it's the first sequel. Yep.
So it's our first sequel that we've watched. And we've always talked about sequels are inherently, if they're done well,
Mhm.
expansive.
Yeah.
Where you take the foundation you built in the first and you're going to broaden the scope, the story.
Mhm.
And that's what I think this does really well.
Yeah.
If we think back, 3 years ago,
Yep.
when we watched original X-Men, it does not hold up.
No.
We had a lot of problems and it's really, really slow.
Oh, God. Yeah.
This is not at all like that.
No.
It does a solid job of taking major steps forward for many of the characters we've come to love
Mm-hmm.
in the first one, and humanizing, no pun intended,
Ew.
the struggle that mutants would deal with
Mhm.
in terms of, like, for example, the Iceman story,
Yep.
where he
first
has
sequel.
to come out
Yeah.
in many ways as a mutant
Yep.
to his family at a time in 2003 where that would be, I mean,
It was becoming more normal,
yes,
for sure.
there's
Yeah.
such a resonance in many ways of this story when it was first originated and the ostracized, marginalized community and variations throughout time come together. So
Yeah.
I am so happy that this held up for me
Mhm.
and it was just as good as I remember it feeling it when I first saw it.
Saw it. Hello.
Saw it.
Hello.
Saw
Welcome
it.
to Huntsville,
Yeah,
Alabama,
saw it.
everybody.
It's
Heyo.
so great there.
Yeah, I saw it.
Sorry. I just am so happy that it was, because when I think of sequels, tell me more than what I got the first time. And it does a lot in that, and it totally delivers.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah,
I loved it.
your first reviewer that compared it
to Empire.
Respectfully, to Empire.
Yeah.
Is accurate.
Yes.
You go, I understand that we're 42 years away from from Empire and that kind of stuff. So now time is depth. So we're double the time. So Empire is more loved in a lot of ways. But in that sense, I agree of saying the world gets bigger, the depths, like the real sort of like punishments of it. People die along the way that aren't humans. Like there's real emotions and this expands the world into such a way that you go like, wait, who is this and what is this? And they did do a really good job with that.
Yes.
I like that comparison. Along that line, it's probably not my number one takeaway, but I guess I'll just tie off with it. The human element of these mutants comes out way more in this movie than it did in the first movie.
Totally.
You talk about the coming out style of Iceman coming out to his family.
Yes.
But really the human emotions of acceptance and, like these people who are accepting who they are, not who they should be or who society says they should be and stuff. And I think that we all go through different phases of that along our life. And so it's interesting to see like the kids, these like sort of kids are coming to their own.
Yeah.
And then, but even then Logan is accepting who he is and not who he's supposed to be or whatever.
Yep.
Like there's these really human emotions that come through when mutants are involved. And it's so great. And one of the reasons why I think comic books get a short shrift and like is it's playing off of normal human emotions, but portrayed through absurd circumstances.
Yes.
And the people say like, oh, this is for kids and this is for this or this is for that. And you're like, no. The core emotions are there.
Yes.
And, the weird, awkward relationship between Rogue and Iceman.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, of course. These two opposites would sort of attract or whatever. And I don't know. The human element comes through more in this movie. And I think they tried to do it in the first movie. And it just didn't quite hit.
Totally.
But boy, does it hit in this movie.
Well, the first one was such again, we're going to build the foundation of this world.
Right.
And so you have
mutants. To a certain extent, you're hindered by world building.
Yes.
It is, to be fair.
Yeah.
You are hindered by that.
Because you have, like you mentioned, decades of comics
yes.
to work with. And you think about the first movie, that it's so slow and plodding, and it's just beholden to, I think, that weight.
Yeah, but also very poorly written. We discussed in that.
Yes.
I mean, it was
terrible.
You might be under a weight, but you can write better.
Yes.
Yeah.
As we saw with Spider-Man, you can have last year we watched it an incredible movie that lives up to the hype of the character you're introducing to the world. So I think what was so great about this is, and I must admit when we were coming to him, like, I haven't seen it in probably 10 years.
Oh,
maybe?
Really?
It's been a long time.
Yeah, my kid is older than yours, so he wants to watch more of these. So I've watched it in the last 2 years.
True.
Yeah.
And I was like, I haven't seen it in a long time. And I'm like, please live up to my memory.
The memory
of how it dramatically improved upon the first movie.
Yeah.
And it absolutely did.
Yep.
And I think you're right, where it takes the time, and we always include Roger Ebert because it's a nice, like...
Well, you love Raj.
He is the
icon.
I know. But I know. Sometimes great. Sometimes this is so stupid where you think about it was not in any way attention deficit craziness.
He said like the short
lives in the moment.
Spans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It takes its time
it's like,
to
this is a 2-hour movie, dude. What are you watching?
Exactly. I'm like, what the hell's wrong with you? Like, it takes the time to flesh out characters that were introduced in the first. It expands again with these characters, with new ones.
And they also cut like Sabretooth and Toad.
Yes.
Who were supposed to be in this, but there's too many or whatever. But I was like, no, cut.
You have to cut it down.
Cut it out. Yeah.
But I totally agree where they took a really great focus in this of empathizing with these characters who are grappling with what that type of experience is to be the marginalized, the ostracized community that was not, it was high level in the first, but this really fleshes it out. So I totally agree. It's such a great thing. So I remember watching it when it first came out, but then seeing it again throughout a few years time after. The home invasion sequence, or I guess the school invasion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is so
first third of the movie.
Effing incredible.
Yep.
You have the parts coming together where you can see where the villain, William Stryker, as I'll talk about later, is trying to get these mutants. And when it comes to maybe a half an hour in, so it's been a nice ride. Okay, lighthearted. And it is just this slow burn where tension and showing what I love about this movie, dear God, is, and I think the first highlights it, but this is the first that really felt like the visceral impact of Wolverine.
Yeah.
Of what he can do when he is in protection mode.
Yes.
Where he is there. And it's kind of like a hinting at like, hey, can you watch the kids this weekend? No big deal.
Yeah,
like all the other parts are
like
leaving.
A joke at first because it is. But
hey, welcome back.
Oh, wait a sec.
Yeah, like you're gonna be here. No big deal. Jean Grey and Storm are heading off for the weekend, and then Charles and Cyclops could be out of the town. Like no big deal. You got the kids, cool. Yeah, like, and what serendipitous timing occurs.
Yeah,
where Wolverine, it's that first glimpse you have when he stabs that guy into the fridge and like primal screams.
Yes.
It's just so awesome.
Yeah,
but what I think is really cool,
I'm pretty sure we talked about Hugh the first time around too.
Oh yeah. I mean, you knew he was going to be a huge star.
Yeah.
But seeing this where he elevates it, that whole sequence where the military is coming in to capture these mutant children. And again, I always say, as a parent, heightens the impact.
Yeah.
But what I think is really cool about this now in hindsight, watching it again, is as stories to come later, it's showing that potential in future stories of Logan's protective nature of children.
Yeah. Oh, hello, Logan.
Yes. Like, I just think like that was such a great sequence, but it's still iconic. I mean, we talked about as it was happening.
Oh, as he like jumps off the balcony,
and like just lays waste to everybody.
Yep.
And that's I think such a great character trait and storyline of Wolverine, where get him in a street fight and he will destroy you all. And that's somewhat the disservice of having these as PG-13. Whereas again, we may be around to watch Logan later, but what works for that movie is
or the next Deadpool movie with him.
Yes.
Yeah.
What works is having Wolverine as R level, where you can see the like destruction that his efforts come. Anyway, I think that whole 10-minute sequence of the attack on the school and getting the kids out is one of the best. So
I agree,
good.
Especially from a comic book standpoint. Like it's a really and what's so great about it is it's not. There are you can pick out. If we really took 5 minutes, like pause and come back with our like top 5 sequences in Marvel movies, I don't think this would come up in that.
No.
Or in comic book movies.
No.
But the ones you think of are all like CGI based and really cool or whatever. And this is really based in like quote unquote reality.
Yes.
There's nothing. Yeah, there are superhuman elements to it, but there's nothing about this that is like, oh, it's all CGI and it's fun, it's over the top. No, it's all really based in grounded in reality.
It's the humanizing aspect of like, you are coming into my house and you are trying to kidnap my kids.
Yeah.
I will destroy you if you try that.
Yeah. With no
qualms.
No.
Yeah, no quarter. I will murder you. It's so good.
No quarter.
Yeah. It's so
parlay.
Yeah, parlay.
Yeah,
it's so good. And Hugh Jackman, God, he's
I know we talked about him.
So good.
Well, there's a few that tie into mine, but I will just move off of that and say because of what we just talked about in the first third, man, Raj, God bless you, man, but no story, my ass.
I know.
Like,
What
no
was that?
story, no story. It was
Exactly.
like, that's what stood out to me.
No
He was
arc.
like, no
What?
story arc of any kind, but I really enjoyed it.
Yes.
And you, like, minimalists, like, you simpletons who love this kind of
Yes.
thing, you're going to really enjoy it,
Yes.
and you're no attention span. Like, at one point we paused it because we're old to pee, and it was like, it was halfway
Multiple
through,
times,
and it was like, but you think about where it was at that moment, you're like, what you just talked about, the raid on the school had happened.
Yes.
All this information that happened in terms of Stryker, these new kids that are involved. At that point, they had moved on to Bobby's family in
Yes.
Boston, and you just go, you're an hour into this, and there's another hour and 10 minutes or so.
Yes.
What are you asking for?
Yes.
Like, what level of story are you asking for that you're going to have the balls to come out and say, no story arc in this?
I totally agree.
But we do have the benefit of hindsight. So again, I will say from a Raj standpoint, you got to think back and say at this point it was X-Men, Spider-Man, and that was about it from a
Yes.
social standpoint. So like, there was no such thing as the MCU. There was no such thing
no
as
concept.
the understanding that these are going to tie in or whatever. So you got to bring it back a little bit. So I'll give them
True.
that. But still, F you, Roger.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, just F you, man. I don't, if you can't, the layers that happen with it of saying, like, these are kids who are just looking for acceptance in a world, and the only
Yes.
place they can find it is at this special school. And you got, same with adults who never could find it, and the only
Nope.
way they found it was as teachers at this school. And
Yes.
just on that level alone, you're like, oh, I can relate to that,
Yes.
We're in the upper Midwest. God bless you ever find anybody in our age that you can be friends with again, let alone be a like superhero with. Like,
Yes.
the story level on this is, when you think about, and I'm sure this will tie into what you're talking about, again, from a hindsight standpoint, we react differently because we get X-Men First Class,
Yes.
Days of Future Past. We get people who 10 years from now, from the release standpoint, can tie it together.
Yes.
So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. But don't tell me there's no story if
I totally agree.
You can tell a story and somebody else can come back and, yes, use the comic books and this movie and pull off other strands to make this movie not only hold up, but actually be better in a lot of ways because it ties into those things.
Yes.
Like, don't talk to me about story. Just don't. I'm just like, again, given the benefit of the doubt, but F you, right?
It is a really odd thing to think back about, and I'd love us doing this with, like, what are the reviews at the time?
Right.
And thinking through that lens of, sure, they had no idea what would have come thereafter.
Right. Yeah.
But it is in complete disservice to this movie to feel like there's no story arc.
Yeah.
You introduced a brand new villain who is fantastic. I'm going to talk about next.
Yeah.
And then you add in all these new characters and how they come together and expand the world. And yet,
oh, and a new good guy, by the way.
yes,
and
and
Nightcrawler.
oh
Yeah.
gosh,
Yep.
talk about him too, and have it end in a way that feels a gut punch and what's
Mhm.
going to come next. And you somewhat equate it to like the Fast and the Furious franchise of like, it's fine, enjoy it, move on. I totally agree. Disservice.
Yep.
So we last year spent many movies, many talking about the year of Brian Cox.
Good old Coxer.
Brian Cox.
Yep.
Clearly in a preparation role for this.
Yeah,
but
naturally.
And R.I.P. Logan, but not our Logan, but I guess whatever Succession is. But is it Kendall?
Wow, take your time here.
Sorry.
I
Brian
what?
Cox, character in Succession, just
cool.
died.
I already
Yeah.
told you I have not watched that much of it. So
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Okay. Fine.
All of Twitter's all a buzz
Okay.
about Brian Cox dying.
It's a Twitter.
Anyway,
Twitter is a Twitter.
William Stryker
Yeah.
is a fantastic villain.
Yeah.
That's what you want. And I think we've seen that in future movies to come with Marvel.
Mhm.
And again, a back catalog and what they can work with. But he is.
But even then, as we talked about in the movie, Stryker wasn't necessarily
as
a
he was
military,
portrayed.
but it wasn't like a military colonel or whatever. He
Yes.
was like a religious thing or whatever. So
Yes.
they still made a conscious choice to turn it into what he is in
Yes.
the movies. So, it's
But I
actually
wonder
even
what
more
could happen with Nightcrawler, and because he's very religious.
Yep.
And then Stryker, but that's another
Yep.
longer
sorry,
podcast.
continue,
But
yep.
what is great about it is, and I think the first suffered in many ways from having mutant versus mutant, and it was a nice entrance into Magneto and Xavier of, a bit of a, not to oversimplify it, but a Malcolm X and Martin Luther K, MLK, like.
Right, because Magneto should not be the bad guy.
No.
We
I
can
agree.
relate to Magneto, but he
Yes.
needs to be the bad guy with another bigger bad in the picture.
Yes, there has to be another better antagonist.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about this movie is William Stryker is a
Right.
fantastic villain because with that in mind, it was always predicated upon pitting these heroes against a worthy adversary. And in hindsight, thinking back through the first one, X-Men, it didn't quite work of pitting a worthy adversary amongst themselves.
Okay.
In my view.
Yeah.
Or having a Senator Kelly as like we'll use legislation to it's blah.
Right. Yeah.
It's just boring. This is what's great is having a villain that can understand the potential of using mutant power against other mutants, who is a father of a mutant. So when we talked about humanizing before, great call out for you is that's what makes it compelling.
Yeah.
Is this villain isn't just mustache twirling, I'm going to stop the mutants. No, it's I brought my son to you, Charles, thinking you could save him.
Yeah.
In my view, i.e., not have him be a mutant, and you didn't.
Right.
So I have this personal connection of decades of wanting to bring you down as a species. That's what works to me as a villain.
Oh, yeah.
And I think Brian Cox is so good at every step of this, where he is trying to the point where he uses his own son to be the catalyst for what might bring about the destruction of the mutants. I just think it's like Greek tragedy. And Shakespeare moved together and said, hey, let's have a baby and make X-Men 2. It's so... You like that? Yeah, I do.
No, when you said it, I just the way you said it, I was just thinking of hey, I got a gun. Let's go do a Broadway show.
Yeah. But I think that's what I think always stood out to me was this was the first time, and I think of we watched Spider-Man with Green Goblin. He's a fine villain. This felt like the next level
But
of
even then, Green Goblin's better with hindsight.
Yes, in hindsight, William Stryker, as a normal human who has no abilities, turning these mutants against each other and using the ability of some to try and bring them all down, incredible.
Yeah.
Just incredible.
Because you want to talk about others, but I want to talk about, Nightcrawler is...
Yes.
I remember thinking Nightcrawler was almost a throwaway in this.
Yes.
I remember being yeah, he's fine, because he's not... Nightcrawler is not Wolverine. He's not a badass. He's not Cyclops. He's not. I guess those are the two white men. Not to be all Bud Light woke on it, but I get it. I get it. Right?
Yes,
that's what I related to at the time. But now I look back and I go, man, Nightcrawler. So set aside the fact that Alan Cummings' performance is very good in this.
So good.
We know enough about Nightcrawler to say, I want this person to... I care about this person. He has morals, he has these things, but he's also torn by, I'm also a quote-unquote freak, or I'm a mutant. How do you sort of balance these things out? Because we know that Storm and these other sort of mutants around, and Wolverine, they've been around long enough to be able to handle themselves and do what they need to do. And now Nightcrawler's running around here going I got nothing, man. So he brings us into this new world. But my God, Nightcrawler is. I can't think of another edition in a second or beyond comic book movie that is as effective as Nightcrawler's,
especially from the lens of
and like you said too, like what a badass moment of like his ability has created great moments when he can leave the jet, go pick up Rogue, and then go back in. And you're like,
yes,
oh my God,
yes. So I think about like a sequel story of, I mean, The Dark Knight, but you have the Joker and Two-Face. These are well-established elements prior to this.
Yeah.
Nightcrawler, for most audiences, is an unknown character.
Yeah, he's in the 90s cartoon.
Yeah, we watched the
really
cartoon.
Yeah, exactly.
But you think about it's a very weird niche thing of his skin color, and he's got an accent, and he can teleport.
Yeah.
And as he's coming into the movie, he is seen through the lens of he is a dangerous element.
Bad guy. Yep.
Exactly. Here's a variation of Magneto, whatever it is, like, you know, as a bad mutant perspective, he's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
And I love that character arc. I totally agree. When it comes to expansion of these stories, Nightcrawler and Alan Cumming as well, like just so freaking good from an empathy standpoint. So when he is captured in many ways by Jean Grey and Storm,
right?
And up to that point, he's seen as like a powerful element, and he's like, "No, I'm actually not that at all. I'm a trickster in many ways. I'm a circus guy.
Yeah,
I don't want to do that." To then, when he is called upon, yes, you're right. It's like clapping, screaming out loud. This is awesome.
Right.
He teleports out of the X-Wing to grab Rogue, who got sucked out, and bring her back in.
Yeah, who can't figure out a damn seatbelt?
I know. It's not that hard.
Come on.
Couple clicks. Figure it out. But I totally agree. It's a empathetic and caring way of showing. And what is so great about him is it's one thing to introduce a character, and it's just a nice element to expand it. But he is essential for the final plot.
Yeah.
Where Xavier has been, used to build this Cerebro and use it to kill mutants and then humans.
Yep.
He's the one that gets in.
Yeah.
And he gets in because other mutants who we've known so far are not able to stop him.
Yeah.
So he's the one that can save the day. So it's not just a means to an end, but it's truly expansion of this world and having this character be the saving grace.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's caring. It's wonderful. It's, I totally agree that Nightcrawler is, fantastic. All right. So one thing I'll say is,
here's the quibble.
No.
Okay.
I actually have no quibbles with this.
Yeah, generally I really don't. Yeah.
I don't like, to the fact that like we knew, having seen it before, that Jean Grey, spoiler, dies.
Yeah. Yes.
And I still teared up.
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
Because of the character development, the connections that when she goes out to sacrifice herself, knowing what's going to come, I got really moved.
You short attention span
effers. Exactly. I enjoyed it. Yeah, it's so good. So I just think one final thing I want to say is we can recognize these stories existed long before in decades of comics. So they have a wealth of information to kind of play upon in stories that would come later.
Mm-hmm.
But man, we commented all the time of just the continuity aspect of this is pre-MCU.
Mm-hmm.
And the writers and the thoughts were items that come back in future movies related to X-Men, Logan, and different variations. I just absolutely appreciate and love that they would have the attention to detail about these movies to kind of like, here's a hint for stuff that you don't know about until 5, 6, 10 years later. And it comes back. So good.
I highly doubt they even knew that was coming.
No. But the respect they have for it.
It is kind of like almost a testament to the people who came after to say, all right, what have we put on film that we can now tie into?
Yes.
And that includes, in X-Men First Class, where they're building, or like we start to find out that Magneto knows the grounds of this and knows the understanding, and at some point he's helping him. I think that's in Days of Future Past. Build Cerebro, and you're like, oh, okay,
right.
You go, there it is. Yeah, exactly. There's a lot to it that comes in. So whomever later comes on, but obviously the people in this had read the the comic books or whatever. But like I read like 14 different X-Men, and I would never pretend to be like I could. How does this tie into the overall thing? No, no, I agree.
Yeah, it's just great.
The last thing I'll say, aside from, I remember us like talking about the quality of the first one. Didn't hold up in terms of like graphics weren't good, the feel of it.
Yeah.
They got $50 million for this movie, and boy does it show.
Totally.
There's still some shitty graphics, but that's 20 years, and I'll give you that. I'll give you a pass.
Yes.
But it's better in that sense.
Yes.
We didn't have like the A League of Their Own segment or whatever when it came to Hugh Jackman in the first time around.
Yep.
But I would say there are good actors and there are great actors. And watching this movie, just watch this movie, and you can say, I have Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen, and Hugh Jackman versus all the rest.
Yeah. Totally agree. Yeah.
Now, Alan Cummins great in this, and so is Brian Cox. But even then, I think Hollywood is filled with, especially major movies, they're filled with like 80% good actors.
Yes.
10% shitty actors.
Yeah.
And then like 10% like great actors.
Yes.
And it's probably even smaller than that.
Totally agree. They're so good.
Those three, man.
They're just,
it's
not
effortlessly great.
Yes, exactly.
And what's more amazing is, again, from a Jackman standpoint, we're 2 years into his like big break with the first one, and not much. He hadn't done much in between then. You just go, I watch it and I go, yeah, that's the difference. There's the difference between good actors and great, and that's what it was. And we love our James Marsden.
Oh God, yes,
but ain't nobody confusing James Marsden with Hugh Jackman.
Yes,
it's just not the same.
Yep.
All right, so as we close out our spotlight segment, we come to our final takes that we call the verdict.
I'm going up there. I'm going to try it. I'm going to let the jury decide.
This is where Tim and I give our final verdicts after rewatching the film and decide whether or not the movie held up over the course of 2 decades. In our discussion outside of our pod, we mentioned that this movie, along with Spider-Man 2, were sort of the bellwether in terms of overall quality of superhero films from this era. Again, from a hindsight standpoint, we have other ones to come, but if you sort of do that 2000 to 2010 era, you have a few, and even the Dark Knight ones aren't quite there. I mean, no, don't get me wrong, Dark Knight's doing this, but I'm just saying they're different styles of movies.
Yes.
Anyway, and I'm happy to say that this film holds up and then some. Whether it is how the film ties into the films that came later on, or just on its own, doesn't matter. X2 holds up and has actually gotten better with age in many ways. The layers of storytelling, F.U. Roger, the mirrors of societal acceptance of the other or the lesser or the different, the action set pieces, and the overall enjoyment of the film all add up to a terrific and, quite frankly, top 5 comic book movie. I have 4.5 out of 5 out of this. I would absolutely recommend it to anyone who wants to have a great time and is willing to watch comic book movies the way they're meant to be watched. It's great.
Love it. So, just last week, from a topical standpoint, in Florida, a congressman brought out X-Men as a means of lamenting and calling trans people demons.
Yep.
And I was so amazed that we were going to watch this movie this week or tonight, because you think about these stories that would not resonate 10, 15, 20, 40, 50 years after they were first started.
Sure.
And the intent of what they wanted to have with this when they created it, as far as ostracized people. And then you watch and go, yeah, people in the world still empathize with the villains.
Mm-hmm.
And what the hell is wrong with them? So it's so serendipitous we watch this, because I agree. Aside from that visceral reaction of these idiots in the world.
Yeah, but even then,
this movie is a dramatic improvement upon the first film. Like night and day improvement.
Yep.
And it does everything you want in a sequel. It expands the world. It moves old characters forward, and it develops new entrants into the series. And for a comic book story, it presents, thankfully, an incredibly compelling villain.
Mm-hmm.
It still holds up. I totally agree. These 20 years later, and not just 20 years, but a week after this, thinking, oh yeah, it resonates in so many ways. The movie balances solid action, really tense moments with empathy and compassion and a heartful story of what this means to have this burden placed upon you to be doing good in the world. Love it. Absolutely. 4.5 out of me, or 4.5 out of 5 stars for me. Totally agree. It is. I'm so happy that it held up. I was so worried. It was like the first. I'm like, oh, please be good.
Yeah.
It is so damn good.
Yeah.
Love it.
There you go.
Love it.
Fucking Florida.
God.
Oh, God. All right. Well, with our reactions to the movie out of the way, we move on to our reactions to our beers that we drank while watching the movie. So that brings us then to our beer reaction segment that we affectionately call Drinking Buddies, the sequel.
Let's get weird.
Where we take a look back at our beers and give our expert ratings. We ended up with 5 total that we, instead of 4. So Tim will bring us back through and we'll go from there.
Our first drinking buddy of the evening was our Half Acre out of Chicago, their double Daisy Cutter.
Yeah.
With their Simcoe, Amarillo, and Citra hops. It's a 4.25 for me. It's really good.
It is really good. Yep.
And I admit, pale ales are like, yeah, you're fine. I don't find them amazing or bad.
Unless they're from India.
Solid. True. Add that India pale ale. I love it. But this is it's got a solid bite. It's not hazy for those out there, but it's
it was
a
nice
nice
color. Like the
color, but the
color was
the flavor is much more of a hard, like kind of bitter. I liked it a lot. It was really good. 4.25.
I was kind of in the 4.25 or 4. Based on the ratings I'm looking at on my sheet, it's probably a 4.25, but I wrote a whole lot of 4s going down, so maybe I was just in the mid. I don't know, but I had a 4.25. I mean, it's just like, I like Daisy Cutter, the original, the regular. It's a good solid. But what I like about this is it's a great new version of what came before. Oftentimes you do a double version of something, and it's just like, I don't taste a difference in this. Why are you wasting my time with this?
Yes.
This is fundamentally different in the way of the taste of the original Daisy Cutter. So I'm kind of in that 4 to 4.25 range.
Yes.
But
great. Yeah. Then we had Humble Forager out of Wisconsin there. Sorry, grab the can. Okay.
Sour.
Enchanted Island Imperial Tiki Sour. It had a lot going on with the passion fruit, Marionberry, pineapple, tangerine, and hibiscus. The hibiscus was a nice color.
For me. It was there from a flavor standpoint.
It was a 4 for me. I have yet to be disappointed by Humble Forager.
Dude, especially on their sours.
They're fantastic.
Yep.
But not where it like overwhelms you. 16 ounces of a sour typically is a problem, in my view. Like a tall boy of sours.
In your view and at our age.
Yeah. It was like, that's a lot. This was not that at all.
No,
it was super mellow and great, but I was very impressed. 4 for me.
I had a 4 on this one, and it's weird that in the last one I was like, I don't know, it's a 4 or 4.25. This one was just a solid 4. Like it was just like right exactly where it would be. It's right in line to the point where if you were to hand me a Humble Forager sour,
I'd
be like, cool. I'll drink the whole thing. We've had them a few
absolutely
times
agree.
on here,
Yes.
and I was like, yeah, Humble Forager. Their other stuff has been fine that I've tried, but their sours are on freaking point.
Totally agree.
Great. I have 4 or 5 as well.
And then we had Fair State Brewing.
Yeah, depending on your political leanings, I guess this is a strange brew, but
It was very unique. They're legalized big doinks, super duper extra dank West Coast IPA. I don't know what to make of this. I struggle with it. I had a 3.25.
2.5 even.
Yep.
Wow.
In the sense of WTF is going on with this beer. One, this is call out. It's a tall boy, and we had to split it.
But we knew that ahead of time.
We knew it ahead of time, but even still, I do not know how you could handle a tall boy of this. It is like they condensed every bit of stank weed in the world.
It did smell like
it smelled
weed.
and tasted like
played.
you put stank weed together.
Yeah.
I didn't not like it, but it was like I have 3 more of these tall boys. I will probably have half of each of them.
Just wait till I come over and we'll split it.
Yeah, we'll split it. But even smelling like, holy God, it smells like
weed.
I'm smoking up some weed. So kudos to why they made it, but
which is why I have a 3.75.
Yeah.
I was to say, if I have to say go see it to Cocaine Bear and Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, because it's exactly what you told me it was.
Yeah.
I read that label, and if you drink this beer and go, wait, this tastes and smells like weed, this is terrible, well, then you're an idiot, good sir. And that's you now because you had 3.25. But for me, I like it's a 3.75 because it's a well-crafted beer. True. I was able to finish half of it, and we have split beers on this podcast that neither of us could finish.
Yes.
So, given the benefit of the doubt there, when we, spoiler alert or teaser, when we talk about this on the happy hour, there are some beers that you just dump after 3 sips. Like, this is not one of them. It was weird.
Yeah.
It had a weird smell, but the core beer was well done.
It was not off-putting.
Yeah. Right. And so I finished it, and if that's what they wanted to put across,
yes,
they succeeded. So I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt, 3.75.
Extra dank.
That being said, don't give me a tall boy to bring home because I also will not finish it.
We'll save it
on my own. I'm like, no, I'm good.
Well, winter is finally done, so we have a lot of time to drink outside together.
Fair
so
point. Yep.
We'll have it together.
Yeah.
Then we had Finnegan's out of Minneapolis. They're
sure.
Dead Irish Poet Coffee Stout. This is a 4.25 for me. I really liked it. It's a subtle coffee stout, so it's not overwhelming.
Yeah, it's Caribou. Ew,
we haven't
walked right into that.
You son of a
right
mother.
Into that.
I like the subtle. I don't like the overwhelming. Like, yikes! I'm having a coffee beer. Really well done for me. I liked it a lot. 4.25.
I had a 4 out of 5 because I found the regular version better, and so I think I rated that also a 4 out of 5. I don't think it was. I think I'd have to look back. It was probably 4 or 4.25 because I've been so bad at updating the website and my own like
Untapped.
I haven't rated it into the original, but it was subtle. But I like coffee. I'm in the minority, and a lot of people I like the actual coffee flavor, and there just wasn't anything to it that I was like, yes, I can taste the coffee, but I liked the original enough, so why would you do this to it? So it wasn't a detriment. It was good. I finished it. It was delicious. But I was like, that's fine. So I have 4 out of 5.
And then we finished end of the movie with some...
that's what we're drinking now, yes.
Badger Hill Brewing out of Shakopee, Minnesota. Shakopee. Their Trader IPA, which is their flagship standard IPA. But this is their double.
Yeah.
Badger Hill Trader. This is really good. I'm thoroughly impressed.
Yeah.
Badger Hill is a solid option.
Agreed. We've
I
talked about. We've had.
I have
at
not-
one point, one of
yes.
us had Trader on it. We've had a
Yes.
couple others here. Yes,
I have not been
brought
disappointed.
for the Star Wars. I think I brought that
Yes.
one, the Death Star one.
That's right.
Yes. Yep.
I have not been disappointed, but I have not been amazed by them.
No,
This is really freaking good.
it's a good double.
It's a solid. It's 4.25 for me. It's a nice
Yeah.
and a double in that it's the kind of traditional like West Coast style bitter IPA. It's not like a hazy,
Mhm.
and it's a nice flavor, and it's really
It's 10%
really good.
ABV, man.
Yeah,
You go like
a tall boy. Oh boy,
that's what I'm saying. You go like,
Woo.
look, Badger Hill Trader on its own has always been, as long as I double check the date because I got burned by that once before.
Yep.
If it's within a good brew time, it's outstanding. It's
Yeah.
a great Trader's a great IPA. We've
Yeah.
talked about it on this in the past. This is a really good double. I agree. I have a 4.25 as well, and it's just like it's smooth, it's flavorful. A lot of doubles end up too malty,
Yep.
and this is just I can taste that this is a Trader IPA,
Yep.
but with a little
Up.
with another 3% of booze, but like a
True.
more, but it's not like punch you in the face kind of booze.
No.
Like, oh no, this is good. This is really well done. It was the last 4-pack at the liquor store I was at, and I'm kind of like pissed. I'm like, I kind of want to go back and buy more.
Well,
I didn't even know this existed, quite frankly.
I had
until walked
not
in.
heard this before. It's
Yeah.
so good.
Well, there we
So
go. Well, cool. Our final segment of the episode is Quiz Show.
The exciting quiz program 21.
Where in our research for the film, we find some interesting trivia nuggets that we hope will stump the other and possibly intrigue you, our dear listeners. I have 3.
Oh, I have 2.5.
2.5. So I will go first and we'll see what happens here. I did not see this in my research for the first X-Men movie or like before. And I don't think we covered it. So I apologize if we did, because obviously I never listened to our podcast. But the mansion used for the film here and in the first one is known as Parkwood Estate and is located in Ontario, Canada. And it's the same mansion where the idiot title character lives with his father in what 1995 slapstick comedy?
Happy Gilmore.
Okay, a simple wrong would have done just fine, but
Well, you're on the right track.
Billy Madison.
Billy
Sorry,
Madison.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, close to.
I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yes, that is the same exterior mansion of where Billy Madison is.
Oh my god.
Neither of us saw that in the first one.
No.
But I was like,
Nope.
okay, there you
Nope.
go. So well done.
That's good.
Well done.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Wow.
I had no idea. Yep, there you go.
I could see that now. Yep.
Yeah.
The
It
exterior.
is.
There
Yeah, you
Yes.
kind of go like, oh, cool.
Yep.
But okay, all right. All right.
I like it.
There you go.
So we talked about the wonderful entrance of Nightcrawler.
Mhm.
So Alan Cummings is a memorable entrant to the X-Men universe.
Mhm.
Yet he and Famke Janssen,
Famke?
Jean Grey, starred together before this film in what 1995 action spy thriller.
That was all the way in 95?
95.
Goldeneye?
Yes.
Holy cow, that feels like forever. Yes, I am invincible.
Invisible! Boris.
Oh, man. Boris.
Oh, man.
Love
Right?
that movie.
Oh, that's so-
95.
Yeah, 95.
Holy cow.
So good.
This movie notably does not feature a cameo by Marvel creator and overall badass legend Stan Lee.
I was
Do you have
watching
this?
for it. And,
Do you have this? Okay, good.
No, I don't.
So Stan Lee is not in this. So Stan Lee, who, when asked why he wasn't in this, simply said, quote, "No one asked." God bless him. However, it is the first of 4 overall X-Men films that did not feature Lee in a cameo role before his death in 2018. Care to guess the other 3 X-Men movies? Now, to be fair, it's not all. It wasn't the third one. There were 5 total X-Men movies between here and then that, yes. So
Oh my gosh.
there are 3 that he was not in the X-Men universe.
Last Stand.
He was in The Last Stand.
right off
You were right off the bat. Wrong. Yeah.
All right.
Boom. So now you got 4 to choose from.
The Wolverine.
X-Men Origins Wolverine, correct.
Yeah.
He was not in
He's
that.
not in Japan for that.
No. Well, that's actually the second one.
He's not in
That's all right.
Logan.
Well, but Logan was not in. Logan was after this, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay, so he died in 2018.
No, this Logan was before 2018.
I'll have to look. It wasn't on there. Okay, continue.
But whatever, yeah.
It's not on my list.
First Class.
He was not in First Class. Correct. You have one more to go.
Days of Future Past.
He was not in Days of Future Past. Yes, he was in Apocalypse. X-Men Apocalypse.
Oh,
or
that's
whatever.
so bad.
Yes. Yeah,
that
yeah.
was really bad.
So yeah, he was not in
man.
Days of Future Past, X-Men Origins Wolverine, and the First Class.
He might. I think actually Logan's 2018.
I feel
So
like
that-
that's what I'm saying. So like before his death, I
Yep.
feel like no, because I went back and looked. I did some actual
I
research.
did some research, you jerk.
Yeah, I was like, don't mess me up, man.
That's good. So one of the story credits,
Take your time.
One of the story credits we talked about is for Zach Penn,
Mm-hmm.
who has collaboratively written many comic book and sci-fi related films, including Incredible Hulk, Reign of Fire, which we covered in the podcast, and Free Guy. For what 2018 Spielberg film did Penn work with the book's original author to adapt the screenplay?
2018. So what are we? 2023. 5 years ago.
Yep.
I mean, is that Ready Player One?
It is indeed.
Yeah, I would assume it would have to be, right? It's not Lincoln, or it's not like
it's not Lincoln.
yeah. Let's sort of go.
Joyce
and-
Carol
yeah.
Oates is like,
Although
I'll work with you. Yeah.
the more time goes on, the more Ready Player One becomes prescient. By the way.
Oh yeah, it's very true. Nice
I have
call.
a really. You have one more.
I kind of.
Okay, ask yours first. So you're gonna hate mine.
Okay.
So
It's not really trivia, but since we last spoke about a Hugh Jackman movie, X-Men, you actually saw him perform.
Yes.
In Music Man on Broadway.
Yeah.
How was it?
Oh, look at you.
It's not trivia. It's more like, how did you, you saw him last year.
Well, I did, and so did Ellen's friend Sarah.
Yes.
Right? So I have this thing with Hugh Jackman's voice that I find it to be weird, and yet, if he were singing to me one-on-one, I would cream my pants. Because the man just oozes confidence and charisma,
Yes.
all of it. And that's what it was. I remember sitting there now Sutton Foster is also awesome. And I don't particularly like Music Man in terms of the show itself, but to watch it, and I remember being there and I had this kid behind me singing along and it was really annoying. And yet still I'd be watching this person up on stage and I would just be like, I want to go to there. Like, I just want to be. And that's what he has. I talked about it with McKellen and Stewart, and these epic movie stars are these stars.
Yes.
Just Ryan Reynolds and these other people. You're just like, I am completely drawn into this person.
Yeah.
And the moment he shows up early on in the on the train scene at the beginning, you're just like, yep, I'm in.
Yep.
And again, because objectively speaking, I don't think he's got an amazing voice.
It's fine.
You watch Les Mis in the movie, you're like, it's fine.
It's fine.
But what he brings in the personality side of it just draws you in. And I'm just like, I'm hooked on this musical that not only was I in high school, I objectively don't like.
Yeah.
And yet I'm still sitting there spending hundreds of dollars and
to fly to New York.
to fly to New York and see it. And that's what he has.
Nice.
It's just natural. Love it.
Not trivia, but just
No, it's great.
we haven't
Good.
talked
I'm
about
glad I
it.
hadn't made you go first because you're going to freaking love this one.
I can't wait.
All right. So going a little off the rails here, and by a little, I mean a freaking lot. The beginning of this film features an attempt on the president's life to show that mutants should be feared. In the beginning, we also see portraits of presidents who are successfully assassinated. It's one of those cool things. You see people in the background. Tim, how many U.S. presidents have been assassinated?
4.
Yes. Who are they?
Lincoln.
Yep.
McKinley.
Yep.
Kennedy.
Yep.
And I'm so frustrated I cannot remember the 4th.
Also the one that was not featured in any portrait in the movie.
Garfield.
Correct.
Yes!
Look at you. The man knows his history.
Ooh.
Yeah, so Lincoln, Kennedy, and McKinley all had portraits in that scene, but Garfield did not. So yes, 4 were assassinated. And you got to give him credit for putting those portraits up in the background that they had an assassination
the movie starts with Lincoln.
Attempt.
Yes.
Really well done. There you go. I went off the rails, but I knew I had a history buff here.
History major.
Yay!
I'm so
justified.
Stupidly vindicated.
Tens of thousands of dollars have just been
I know, exactly.
justified by 40 people listening to us right now.
So happy.
Love it.
Yes.
All right, so that will bring us to the end of the episode. Stay tuned for our upcoming happy hour on Phone Booth, a movie you have not watched. And for upcoming episodes on, holy cow, what did I just do here? Oh, upcoming episodes. I edited this really poorly. Upcoming episodes on Finding Nemo and our happy hour on Bruce Almighty.
Yes.
Be sure to find all of our previous episodes on your favorite streaming platform. We want to say thank you for taking the time to listen and for clicking that like or subscribe button on your devices. Find us on Twitter at years_beers and on Facebook, or head to 20years4beers.com. This has been 20 Years 4 Beers. My name is Steve.
I'm Tim.
And thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Clench your cheeks and hope you survive. Soar it. Hello.
And said, hey, let's have a baby and make X-Men 2.
Not to be all Bud Light woke on it, but I get it. I would cream my pants.
Ooh.
Cut!